Hi guys, welcome back. For Christmas, I was gifted this gorgeous reading journal, and I'm thoroughly impressed. It's fairly simple, fairly thin, and it doesn't go completely overboard on tracking like a million different things, but it has a lot of room, but it has plenty of room for reading a lot. The cover is, I think the cover is this really cool, it's almost like a really dark olive green color, which I really love that color. And then I love the gold detail. And it's really hard to tell you what the material on the outside is. It's kind of like a canvas, but it's more of a silky material. Also, it does come with these little ribbon bookmarks. I always love when they do that for books so that I can easily find the spot that I was in. So for this video, I thought I would take you on a walkthrough of what this journal has inside of it, and then I thought we would go ahead and fill out the TBR pages. So let me flip the camera around and we can get on with it. This top-down view is going to be a little bit challenging because I only have one hand to work with. That's a really cute stamp. I started writing in that in pencil, so I need to erase that better. But I love this little card in the front so you can put your name and stuff in it. I usually do put my phone number in there just in case my book gets lost. Okay. I love this reading tracker and the coloration. The colors that they actually use are really nice muted tones too, because I really don't like those bright pinks and greens and stuff. So this is awesome. I did also, as I said, I started filling this out, but I'm going to start over. I'm actually going to go in, erase these, and then start it over again. And then I'm actually going to take you through the TBR section. So these pages are for the literary bucket list, or otherwise books you want to read. So there's actually 4 pages that you can fill in with all the books that you want to read for the next year. Look through. Then on this, we have the well-rounded reader checklist. I think this is also really cool. So I don't have all of them picked out just yet. I don't have a beach read and I don't have a spiritual read. There's biographies on here twice, and that's another one that's kind of hard for me. Either way, we're going to go through all of my books, and we're also going to fill in, get my head around which books I can fit in these. This is books borrowed and books lent out. I actually never lend any books out, so I might just continue this on with books borrowed. I do borrow a lot of books from the library. And then the rest of this is all review pages. And I really like the design of this. It has all the things that I like to put in here, like what format the book was in that you read it, the title, the author, the date you started and finished, the rating, the genre, recommended by, and how many pages. I really like that. Here's some other things: fiction or nonfiction, how'd you like the ending, your ratings on it, favorite characters, and then it has favorite quotes, and then review notes, and if you could talk to the author, what would you ask them, and would you recommend this book? The only thing is I wish these lines were a little bit smaller, but I think that's okay. And that's it. I think the only other thing I would like to see from this book is end of year feelings, like what was the best book of the year, best cover, those kinds of things. But I can always add an insert in here at the end. I think that's what I'll end up doing. Whenever I'm choosing my TBR for the next year, I like to kind of organize it by different categories and kind of figure out what that is. So I'm not actually going to write all of these in the book just yet, but we are going to talk about them here, and I will fill them out at a later date. So for the first category, I like to think about all the books I'm already currently reading that I would like to finish. For that, I have 3 books. The first one is Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. This is book 2 of The Arc of the Scythe. My husband actually has the physical book with him because he cannot read ebooks, so I have the ebook that I will be reading. I kind of started that. I've started that, like, I only got like a couple pages in that so far, so I could barely call it starting it. The next one is Hero of Ages. I made it 67 pages in, but because it's such a massive book, it barely looks like I've made a dent at all. And then we have Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. This is a book that I started quite a while ago. I don't know, I got really excited to like get into some fantasy, and I'm also about 70 pages into this one. And then on my ebook, I am also reading a book called Belladonna. And I think I have some other books on there that I'm kind of currently reading, but in my mind, like, I'm not reading anything else right now until I finish Belladonna on my ebook. The next category of books are book club picks. I'm really kind of only reading with one book club this year, and that is the Game of Tomes book club. And in the past couple years, I have never really like hardcore stuck with those books exactly. It's more of a guideline if I can keep up. So it's going to be the same this year. I just want to have fun, and I don't want to kind of put that pressure behind my reading as like, you have to read this book, you have to finish it in this specific time, and etc., etc. So these are just guidelines, and these are all books that I already have on my shelves, and I do want to read them. So what better time than to hopefully try to fit them in when everyone else is reading them. And that's what goes through my mind. They only have 6 books for the year because they are reading giant books. So they're taking 2 months to read 1 book. And I kind of like that format, by the way. The first one they are reading for January, February is The Count of Monte Cristo. Now, I didn't know when I picked this book up. I must have found it like either free or very, very cheap or something like that. And I was like, oh, hey, it's a classic. Let's throw it on my shelf because like I've heard it's a good book. This is obviously the abridged version. It is very, very short, and I'm okay with reading the abridged version. And then if I like it, to go ahead and read the unabridged version. However, I did actually find my library has like 2 unabridged versions of audiobooks, and I don't know which one's going to have a better narrator. I was going to check it out, but I couldn't check it. I was at my limits of checkouts for the month on Hoopla, but I can check it out today now. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that when I'm done filming this. The abridged version, this book is still at 530 pages, but I've heard that the unabridged version is more like 1,000 pages. So, and I believe it's like a 40 hours, I want to say. That's a long audiobook. Now the other 5, I don't remember which. I remember which one was for December, but I don't remember the ones, like what months they were for, but it doesn't really matter for the purposes of this video. The other one they're going to be reading is the Lord of the Rings. Now this one is just the first one, the Fellowship of the Ring, but they're going to read all 3 books in the course of 2 months. So if I can at least get through the first book, I will be completely happy, but I am also probably going to be checking out the audiobooks to help me with these. Next one they're going to be reading, and I do know this one's over the summer because it's funny because I was planning on reading this over the summer a couple years ago, so that's why it's stuck in my head. But that is 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami. And this has been making it to my TBR every single year for I don't even know how long, and I still have yet to get to it. This one is Middlemarch by George Eliot, and I did have this book. I remember somebody I watch was just saying how wonderful and this book is, and I definitely want to read it, but it's just not interesting me right now. So I can't imagine reading this book this year. So this one is probably the one I probably would not get to. I might switch it out for a different book. Another one they're going to be reading is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. This one has been on my TBR for a really long time as well. I'm so excited to read this book. I've heard nothing but good things. It is very intimidating. It's very long. The mass market paperback book is 1,600 pages, and the writing is very, very tiny. But regardless, I am actually very excited about this one. And then the last one that they're going to be reading in the winter is Little Women. This is another one that I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm like vibing with this right. Ooh. Oh, that is so sweet. Christmas 2009. This was gifted to somebody named Bailey. Anyways, yeah, obviously I got this as a used book. So I know I'm going to be reading this one in December, so that gives me some time to kind of wrap my head around it and get excited about the book. The next category are going to be series that I'm working on that I would really like to finish, or at least continue. First one is going to be The Toll. The Toll is book 3 in the Arc of the Scythe. So if I can read Thunderhead and The Toll, I will have finished that series, minus the novella, but that's okay. I don't really consider the novellas as finishing them. Those are like bonus content if you finish them. So anyways, there's The Toll. Then I have this series by Paula Morris, and I read this quite a few years ago. I read Ruined, and I ended up really, really liking it. It was like dark and eerie. It takes place in an old, it takes place in the French Quarter in New Orleans, and it has to deal with old elitist families that live there, and there's also a haunting. And I'm not really one for ghosts, but I enjoyed this so much because of that southern New Orleans flair, and our main character has a really interesting kind of story. I remember liking the love story a bit as well, and I kind of like that trope where you have like the outsider coming into like a clique of people and like finding their footing, especially when that clique is like she's like basic middle class, like everyone, like most people, and then the people she's with are like old families, old money, and I do kind of like that. There's also a lot of hoodoo going on in here, voodoo or hoodoo magic, and a lot of interesting characters. I just remember really liking it. I would have to give the first book a little bit of a refresher, and then there are 2 other books called Unbroken and Dark Souls, but they're also very short books, and I think they're really quick reads. So that's on the list. Evermore and Everlist. I did actually read Evermore before as well. I remember, I think I listened to an audiobook and I thought it was so good. I wanted to reread it. It's such an interesting concept where people give, the currency is basically life, and the people who are very rich are almost immortal. Like they've been living forever. They do not die because they never have to give up any of their life blood to make the coins. So there's people who are poor who need these life coins or these blood coins or whatever. And so as you can imagine, or if they get in trouble, they have to like exchange, like that's all they have to give. And so they live much shorter lives. And I would like to do a refresh read and then read this series. Throne of Glass. I read the first 3 books in the series, but I would like to go ahead and completely restart them. From Blood and Ash, I read the first 2 books. I can't actually recall if I finished the second book 100%. But either way, I would like to finish this series. I think there's 4 in this series, and then there's actually a prequel. So I don't think I'm actually going to finish this series, but I would at least like to continue on. That being said, same goes for Game of Thrones. Again, I don't think I can finish this entire series, but I really do need to continue on with the series because this is so good. I was just remembering talking about it, doing my wrap up, and I was like, how dumb am I for not continuing on right away? Is my phone gonna die? Of all the days, I can't seem to get through this video. Of all the days, I keep getting back-to-back phone calls. This might take me 2 days, or I might have to redo this. Anyhow, the next one we're going to talk about, the next series I would like to continue on with and hopefully finish would be Crown of Feathers. I read the first book. I fell in love with it. Again, I don't know why I just stopped there and didn't just like move on to the next, because this was a gift for this was another Christmas gift a couple years ago, and yeah, so I've been holding on to this book. So I have Crown of Feathers, which I've read, Heart of Flames, was the Owl Crate edition of Wings of Shadow, and it's literally still in the plastic. I thought there's no sense in taking it out just to get dusty. But this one's so cool too because it has sprayed edges. Then I have Hellbent that will finish up that series. I know, I have tried to read the first one a couple of times. I really struggled with it, but I feel like I have to read this book too. And I might give the first one a second chance. I might just have to read it slower with different expectations or something. And then the other one is Rule of Wolves. Now the next category are series that I would really like to start. This is where we're going to start getting extremely ambitious. As I'm going through all of my books, picking out all the books off of my shelves, I keep seeing other books and like series that I have got all the books to and I haven't started them. And I'm like, I want to start this one and I want to read this one. And I'm getting so excited. And then I'm like, well, maybe I should put this one on the list. But I'm trying not to go too crazy, but fat chance of that. Now into the next category, we're going to talk about series that I would like to start. And I don't intend to finish them because I know that there's like a million books on this list, but these are ones that I'm really gravitating towards right now. A Grave Site by Charlaine Harris. What the heck is this? And I have like the first and the third book, Grave Site and An Ice Cold Grave. The only one I'm missing is book 2, I think. But either way, I've obviously found these at different times, different places over the years, but I have fallen in love with the Sookie Stackhouse books. I read almost all 20 of them. I think I read like the first 19 of them. There's like 23 books, so I read most of the series of the Sookie Stackhouse, and I love her style of writing. I love her like cozy mystery with stuff, but this one's completely different. So this is Grave Site, and is another like cozy mystery, except I think that the main character, Harper, like sees dead people. I have what you might call a strange job. I find dead people. I can sense the final location, a person who's passed, and share their very last moment. The way I see it, I'm providing a service to the dead while bringing some closure to the living. But I'm used to most people treating me like a blood-sucking leech. This could also go in the next category we're going to talk about, but books that we're gonna talk about these soon, but books that have been recommended to me by my family and I just have not read them. Like I read my other family's I read people I don't even know's recommendations, but I don't even like read the books that like my family likes, and they're the closest people I can talk to about the books that they like. And so like, why have I not done this? Anyways, this is a book that my husband used to love when he was younger. He used to read a lot. He just is too busy these days to really read. And we've had this series for a long time because he told me about it, and so I picked them up for him. I had all intents and purposes of reading them for like the last 4 or 5 years. Not even kidding you. And I just have yet to do it. And the first one in this, well, the series is called Xanth. The first book is called A Spell for Chameleon by Piers Anthony. And I actually did start this book. I've read probably a good 50 pages into it to start. And I remember thinking that this is amazing writing. I was so interested in it, and it was so cool. Like you could see all these cool characters like right in the beginning of it. And it just jumps right into the novel. So I could see this really fast paced. But I think I'm gonna love this series. And I have the first 5 books, but anyways, that's that. I would love to start that series. Another one I just hear from everybody. Nobody has made a review that says these are terrible books. And that is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I have no idea what this is even about. A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This is again, oh hey, look, Deborah Harkness wrote, this is a book to treasure. It's funny because I have a Deborah Harkness book that I'm going to be talking about here in a minute. Another one that I hear is just an all-around wonderful epic fantasy is The Fifth Season. Oh, one more. How could I have almost forgot this? Literally, I plan on reading this month, and that is The Last Hours. We have Chain of Gold, Chain of Iron, and Chain of Thorns. I have to call it quits on this one. Next category. All right, the next category is for books that have been recommended to me by my family or given to me. This gift book in here. The first one, as I said, the Piers Anthony, A Spell for a Chameleon. But the next one is Jurassic Park. Both my husband and my son read this. I was shocked. First of all, when my son Michael read this book, he was not, I would not consider him a reader. I feel like this book really changed that for him. And he should have been in like the lower level, like the mid-level, like chapter books should have been like his reading range. But no, he picked this up and he devoured this book. And this is definitely like an adult book. And it's going to be a lot more difficult reading for him. And he just loved it so much that he read it. And also, I know that it's probably got to be very fast paced because of his attention span level. So I feel like I'm also going to love this book. So it needs to get read. This is another one that my husband recommended to me. And okay, he has been recommending Of Mice and Men so many years. And I'm like, I've already read that one. I did not like it. And he's like, no, but you don't understand. So he's been talking. So I can understand. I can see that book from his perspective. And maybe I will give it another chance because I did read it in high school. So maybe I'll have a much different perspective and be able to kind of analyze it from a different perspective now that I'm older. I think that would be very interesting. But the other book that he thought I should read is Grapes of Wrath. And this one has been sitting next to another Steinbeck that I really want to read called East of Eden. To be honest, East of Eden caught my attention a lot more than Grapes of Wrath. But either way, he wanted me to read this one, so I'm putting this on the list. And then the last one for this category is To Kill a Shadow. And this one is because I literally just got it for Christmas from my husband. And I like to read the books that he gifts me because I love that my husband gifts me books and things that I really like and really want. So I do try to not like let them sit and get dusty on my bookshelves because then like, if you're not going to read them, why would I buy them? All right, the next category is going to be books that were on last year's TBR list and I just have not gotten to yet. And these are not all the books I didn't get to because there was a lot of books that I didn't get to. But these ones are really kind of still begging me to read them in the moment. So that's how I'm kind of going by all this. The first one is Night Film by Marisha Pessl. And like, let me tell you, I hope that this book goes better than the last Marisha Pessl book that I read. This one, Special Topics and Calamity. I didn't even realize that these two were the same, but written by the same author. They are completely, vastly different. This one is like an academic piece and it's about this, literally, it's just, I can't even get into it right now, but it's just, it sounded like it was something I would perfectly love because it has tons of references to literature and pop culture, but it's just a lot of too much of all the things, and it just did not work for me at all. This, on the other hand, is supposed to be a mystery thriller. Sorry. Much has been written about the Cordova's dark and unsettling films. Very little is known about the man himself. That's right. So this has like pieces like this. It's not the whole book, but anyways, dark, twisty thriller. I've heard nothing but good things about it though. I literally almost picked that up like 2 months ago and I started it and it just was not the right time. Graceling. I know this is part of a series, but in my mind, it's just one book. So I know this is an older book, but everyone who's read it says like a really good book. And I don't remember what it's about. It's also been on my shelves for ages and ages. And I think that that's kind of on my mind too, is like, let me finally read it and see what it's about. Neverwhere. This one sounds so good. Now, Neil Gaiman and I haven't gotten along very well in the past, but this one just sounds so perfect. It's like about this dark, seedy underground. It is a discovery of witches. It's quite a thick book. This is also, again, a part of a series. The Starless Sea, California. I have Pachinko and Snow. I forgot one other book to add to books I would love to, like series I would like to start. The Atlas 6. I have both books, the Atlas 6 and the Atlas Paradox. All right, we're finally getting to the end of this video. The very last thing is the well-rounded reader checklist in the journal. The normal strategy I would use is just to read what I read and then fill it in at the end to see if I've hit any of those check marks. I'm gonna adjust the camera really quick. That's better. Okay. That would be the normal strategy, and that's still the strategy. So I'm not actually putting these in these places, but some of these are not like what I would normally read. I like to kind of make sure that they are fit into my TBR list. So the first one is a historical fiction. Pachinko would fit. So yes, this takes place in 1900s Japan, so that fits that. The next one is science fiction. Actually, Thunderhead and Toll will absolutely fit, but this one will also fit. California, I think, is more of a dystopian though, so it's probably better to go with like Thunderhead. I think that dystopian could absolutely be considered under the umbrella of science fiction though. So biography, I thought this one was going to be so hard. I really just do not read like nonfiction. I do not read biography, but I surprisingly, after looking around and thinking about it, I actually have a few already on my shelves that I've been wanting to read, and they're not like big fat biography novels. They're short, bite-sized pieces. This one about Franz Kafka, and it's super tiny, and it's like, you know, small articles. So this is doable. The next one I have is this beautiful Edgar Allan Poe book all about his life, and this one's really, really cool. Like, the inside cover has a family tree. I mean, come on. This would be fun to read. I've got biographies covered. Biography was on there twice, so those are for both of my biographies. We have a classic literature book, which Count of Monte Cristo will count. Middlemarch, Little Woman, Grapes of Wrath would work, even though it's kind of considered more of a modern classic, but it didn't specify. Lord of the Rings, I think, is actually considered a classic now at this point too, I think. We got classic lit covered. Oh man, I just thought of another one that I need to add. I need to add My Cousin Rachel, because I also read Daphne du Maurier's other book, Rebecca. I fell in love with that book. I love the Gothic tale, and this is just supposed to be just as good. The next category is for mystery. Actually, I was thinking 100% we're going to go back to Agatha Christie. I still have 3 books on my shelves of hers that I want to read. And then There Were None, but I also have The Murder of Roger Ackroyd and Murder on the Orient Express. But I keep hearing that people tend to really like this one the most. So there's that one. For thriller, we have Night Film. Romance, we have To Kill a Shadow. Now, I'm pretty sure this is considered romance, but I'm going to count it. Then we have personal development, and this is another category that is not strong for me. I really don't read from like self-help books, but I have actually been wanting to change that. I have been really wanting to maybe dip into some more parenting style books. I have also acquired some more mental health books as well, and I have a few that have been on my TBR. It's just, when I could read a fantasy, or I could read like a tough topics like self-help, of course I'm going to pick a fantasy. First one I have, House of Testosterone. This is one that I picked up pretty recently, and I thought, oh my god, I need this book because I am literally the only female in the house other than the other cat. We have 2 cats. One's a female, one's a male. And then I have 2 boys and a husband, and I literally am the only female in the house, and that's completely fine. I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way, but it definitely has some challenges. And I did start this book already. I have made it 42 pages in. The problem I have with parenting books is, like, I want something that's funny, not like a how-to guide, because, like, let's be honest, there is no book that can tell you how to parent better. There might be some other like tips and techniques that could help you that maybe you haven't tried, but for the most part, like, everyone's different, every kid is different, every lifestyle is different, every household is different, and I just don't like the idea that I'm going to read a book to tell me how to raise my kids kind of thing, because everyone has figured out how to do it this long without a book. But I thought that maybe this could offer some fun humor, and like someone else to be like, oh my god, you're right, that's such a boy thing, or whatever. Like, my boys do the same thing. So far, it's pretty generic, and that's why I have put it down for a while. But I do want to kind of finish it. just to see. I mean, it's short enough anyways. It's like under 200 pages, so like it's not a big commitment, and it's a very, very fast read. Next one I have is Extreme Ownership. This is a book that my husband read, and he was like, oh my god, like you have to read this book. I believe this was written by 2 U.S. Navy SEAL officers who led the most highly decorated special operations unit of the Iraq War. Demonstrate how to apply powerful leadership principles from the battlefield to business and life. And I really like that it's written by some military guys, because I feel like they're probably going to see things through a no bullshit lens, which I really, really appreciate. I really don't have patience for like this fluffy bunny kind of like life guru stuff. I really don't. And then the last book I have in that category is more of a mental health book, and that is I Hate You, Don't Leave Me. The next category is for memoirs, and this one was like, oh no, a memoir. And I was like, wait a minute, I got this covered too. I have this book. I started reading this years ago, and I've put it down literally for years. But the format of it, it's okay if you do that. The Diary of Anais Nin. I got really just captivated by her writing. But then I got to a part where it started to really bog down, because this is a part of her life where Henry Miller has become a bigger part of her life. She's become really good friends with him. And she and him really talk a lot about like life and writing, kind of trying to like overanalyze the world in a way. And then she's trying to like overanalyze him and his wife June, and has she met June at this point? I know she meets June at some point. And June is this very like elusive, mysterious woman, and she just has a lot of reflection on that. And there's so many pages. I'm getting really bogged down with all the Henry Miller stuff. I do want to read it because I do have Tropic of Cancer that I want to read, which is Henry Miller's book. I had it in my head that I had to read this first before I can move on. And that's just, I give myself these really stupid rules in my head. It's just ridiculous. I'm basically halfway through this, so it wouldn't take much to finish that. Also, I was literally just thinking about this the other day. There are so many graphic memoirs now, which could make reading memoirs so much fun. I've read like 3 graphic memoirs now at this point. And I've got fantasy and young adult, which I've definitely got those covered with any of the books. I don't really need to talk about that category. It's in the bag. Same with young adult. The next one is beach read. I don't really have anything for beach read. I might have to get towards the summer to figure out like what I'm vibing with at the moment. And then the last one is spiritual. This is another one that's very difficult. I know that spiritual does not necessarily mean like religious, or it could be this book I have. This might actually be the one that I choose for my spiritual book. And this is actually like a guided journal, and it's called Journal Like a Stoic. And it has a lot of excerpts in here. So you kind of get to learn about Stoic philosophers, and then it gives you questions to contemplate and write on. That will kind of fulfill other goals in my life as well. All right, I think that worked. Like, my phone died. My phone ran out of battery. No, my phone ran out of storage. I had to fix some stuff. Okay, anyways. And I think that's the end of this video, finally. So let me know what you guys are reading. I'm going to fill out the rest of my journal, and I will see you guys soon. Thank you for watching. Bye.